Congressman, do you view indictment as a potentially constitutional way to deal with crimes by a president?
Yeah, that's right. Actually, overwhelming.
Look, I don't think there's anything in the Constitution that prevents a president from being indicted or that would say that the president is somehow above the law. But I do think that if that is where Bob Mueller's investigation ultimately led, that he would be much more likely to present that evidence to the Congress and deem this a political question rather than something that ought to be presented to an ordinary jury in a federal court in somewhere in the country. So I think for prudential reasons, it's unlikely to be the case, but I don't think there's anything either in the Constitution or in statute that essentially says the president can commit a crime and not be prosecuted for it.
So your view, not as a matter of prediction about Mueller, but as a matter of law, is it is on the table constitutionally to indict a sitting president?
It is, I think, constitutional to indict a sitting president. I think for prudential reasons, it's unlikely that Bob Mueller would take that course even if the evidence supported it. If Bob Mueller did go forward, and I know these are a lot of ifs, it's also very possible that a court would decide to defer the prosecution until after the presidency. And I know there was some debate about that in the civil litigation involving President Clinton. But that is also a possibility.
And Congressman, this is an issue that's come up now. Why hasn't it come up, in your view, more during the Obama administration? Why wasn't anyone talking about indicting that president?
Well, why wasn't anyone talking about indicting President Obama? Well, I think the simple answer is there was no basis and no even speculative basis for such an action. It is remarkable, as you say, Ari, that here we are 6 months into this presidency where people are asking questions about whether a president can be indicted. There were other questions on the news today about whether mental health experts are free to opine about what they may believe the president's condition to be. These are not the kind of questions as President of the United States you want to be hearing. But moreover, these are not the kind of questions that the country wants to be asking. But some of the president's actions obviously are forcing the country to confront these kind of issues.
Mm-hmm. And turning to Jared Kushner, did you get what you needed from him in the committee room today?
He was, I think, fully cooperative with our questions and our committee. We didn't have all the documents we wanted before the interview. It was really the request of Mr. Kushner's counsel that he come in far earlier in the process than we would ordinarily have a witness of this significance. There are also additional documents we asked for and questions that we didn't have time to ask today before we had to bring the proceedings to a close. So he did express a willingness to come back. I think that will ultimately be necessary. Right. But he was fully cooperative during the interview.
The documents. Last question on that. Did he provide documentation for the written claims in the testimony when he talked about the emails and talking to his assistant and asking the Russian ambassador's name? A lot of those seem to refer to things he claimed he'd emailed previously. Do you have those documents?
He did provide documents. I can't go into the detail or description of the documents. We do think that there are more documents that are responsive to the requests that we've made, and we made additional requests in light of his testimony today. But, you know, he has and his counsel been cooperative with the committee, and we'll expect that they'll cooperate in the production of those materials.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.